Now let's talk about evaluating variable expressions. And the key word here is evaluating. So when we say to evaluate an expression, we mean something very specific. And that is that we want to find the value that the variable expression equals, which means what number does it equal? Now, usually it's a pretty nonsensical question to ask. For example, if I had an expression like 3x, which remember is the same thing as saying 3 times x, and if I asked you, well, what does this equal? What's the value of this expression? Well, we can't tell, right? Because we don't know what this unknown number x is. For example, if x equals 1, then 3 times 1 is 3. If x is 7, then 3 times 7 is 21. We simply can't evaluate variable expressions unless we know what the variables equal. So usually the question is asked the following way. Usually you're asked, for example, evaluate 3x, and then you're told if x equals, for example, 4. Right? Well, now you can evaluate this, right? Now you know that x equals 4. You can plug 4 into your expression. 3 times 4, and that, of course, equals 12. You know that 3x is 12 as long as x equals 4. That's really what the questions boil down to. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. So in this example, you're asked to evaluate the expression x plus 2 if x equals 3. Well, pretty easy, right? X equals 3, so we just let x equal 3, and 3 plus 2, of course, is 5. So the answer is 5, right? X plus 2 equals 5 if x equals 3. And usually evaluating is just that straightforward. You simply plug the number into x and you evaluate. The wrinkle comes in sometimes with negative numbers raised to certain powers. Let's take a look at our next example that will illustrate it. Here we want to evaluate 2x plus x squared when x is negative 5, right? So everywhere where we see an x, we will plug in a negative 5. So our expression is now 2x, which is 2 times negative 5 plus x squared, negative 5 squared. This is where we have to be really, really careful. Notice that I put my negative 5 in parentheses, and there's a reason for that. Let's explore this a little bit. When we have an expression x squared, what we mean is x times x. So when we plug negative 5 in for x, what we really want is we want negative 5 to multiply another negative 5. If I write my expression as negative 5 squared without parentheses, if you remember the rules for order of operations with negative numbers, the minus sign does not get attached to the 5 before the squaring does. So what really happens is we have minus 5 squared, minus 5 times 5. Well, that's not what we wanted. We wanted negative 5 times negative 5, not 5 times negative 5. To make sure that we raise negative 5 to the second power, because that, after all, is what x is, we need to force negative 5 to be in parentheses. Okay, well, finishing the problem off is pretty straightforward. Order of operations dictates that we do exponents first. Negative 5 squared, well, negative times negative is positive, and 5 times 5 is 25. Then we multiply. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. And finally, we add negative 10 plus 25 is 15. And so the answer is 15. If when you're doing this example, you find that your arithmetic with negative numbers leaves something to be desired, you can review this in your textbook. Chapter 2. If you look through the table of contents, you will find that most of it deals with negative numbers. You have adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. This is a good place for you to go back and refresh your memory. So the next video that we're going to talk about, we will discuss comparing variable expressions, specifically how we can determine whether two variable expressions are equal or not.